Welcome to Celebrating Hispanic Heritage. I'm Adriana Rivera.
And I'm Shannon Hegy. Each year from September 15th to October 15th, Americans observe National Hispanic Heritage Month by celebrating the histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. But we begin here at home in Central Falls with a treasure trove of stories told by Rhode Island's Latino community.
That's right, Shannon. And today's stories are the next generation's history. That's what local historian Marta Martinez tells me about her mission to chronicle the Latino community in the Ocean State. Rhode Island's first Latino judge, the first bodega, those are the stories Marta Martinez has been chasing for more than 30 years. Her quest grew out of a black hole of information on the community she yearned to find in the Ocean State.
I was looking for tortillas and chile, and I went out looking for markets and found a very small Dominican community.
Martinez said when she started the project in the 90s, coverage of this community didn't include the success stories.
But it was mainly about Latinos that had been arrested, that was just negative news about Latinos, and that just didn't seem right.
So with a tape recorder in hand, she set out to amplify those voices.
And I started talking to the Latino community, especially when I heard some Spanish being spoken. And I would ask permission, can I just record you? I'm interested in just hearing more when I get home.
Sparking the birth of the Latino Oral History Project, known as Nuestras Raíces.
The first Spanish language newspaper.
Or Our Roots. Martinez chronicled the story of Josefina Rosario, a Dominican woman who owned the first known bodega in the state. She later captured the renaming of Borinquen Street in Providence to symbolize Puerto Rico's indigenous name. Today, she has amassed 110 recordings, compiled articles, photos, videos, and even yard signs of Latino political candidates, all telling the story of a community thriving in Rhode Island.
The point is to educate the non-Latino community, similar to the way I read about them in the past, that we're here, we're powerful.
Martinez is always looking for more people in the community who want to contribute their story to the project. You can head to WPRI.com for info on how you can do that.
Moving now to our colleagues in Chicago who introduce us to an incredible artist. Mauricio Ramirez designs work on a scale few artists are capable of. His vision always includes an amazing mix of color and geometric shapes, and in many cases, community participation plays a key role in making neighborhoods all over the country more beautiful. Dan Ponce has the story.
That's a citrus yellow.
Mauricio Ramirez is good at seeing the big picture, quite literally. His murals transform the sides of buildings all over the country, turning brick and concrete into canvas. And for him, the bigger the canvas, the better.
A lot of people think the bigger you go, the harder it is. But for me, it's a little bit easier because you're able to kind of take each section detail by detail and really take your time and zoomed in on the actual image as you get closer to the mural.
Ramirez grew up in Berwyn and Cicero. At 33 years old, he's fast become one of Chicago's most successful Latino muralists.
My whole style's been described as geometric, low poly, cubist almost. And what I mean by that, it's these geometrical shapes that ultimately make up the image. So you would see one image just kind of created of a bunch of triangles, different polygons that ultimately make up the shape. And I think with today's technology, I think it's a perfect way to merge technology and art together.
A beautiful example of his work can be seen at Cristo Rey Jesuit High School in Pilsen, a mural of the Virgin of Guadalupe, 35 feet tall and about 20 feet wide.
I think it's important to kind of mix these styles together to kind of pay homage to, the traditional imagery as well as, focusing on the future.
He's done murals all over the country. In Milwaukee, one called Frontline Heroes was completed in 2020. Also in Milwaukee, the city's biggest sports star, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's done murals in Portland, Oregon, Ventura, California, and another titled All Together in the state of Vermont. In his home studio in Cicero, Ramirez works on a canvas that will be one of 5 panels of a larger piece. He says a lot of planning has to go into his work to accommodate the space accurately.
before I go and paint anything on the walls or on canvases, I usually have it pretty planned out in my head. I've already painted it, 10 times at least. And so when I get to the wall, there's no funny business. It's all execution and craft and, just really focusing on the tightness of the work.
In many cases, he also has people in the local community come out and help spray paint, assigning different sections of the mural to people of all ages.
Yeah, we have people from, 4 to 5 years old, young to, seniors, really.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
And they have a good time and they get out there and
I hope so.
They see your vision and they get inspired.
Yeah, I hope so. I just, it's a little break from, the everyday stuff that, people usually do. It's not every day that people get to, throw some paint on the wall legally and call it their own.
He says he draws strength from the work ethic of the Latino community.
Coming from a Mexican background, right, where I think I pride myself in that we have one of the most hardest work ethics around, right? You look at the labor force, construction sites, they're mostly Latino, and I think that's really cool to see because, it just shows how hard we're willing to work for our families.
During winter months, he'll work on new designs and research new public art projects he can apply for. He says he hopes he'll be designing murals the rest of his life.
It's hard to find a space where you could actually paint, a mural, so hopefully those things kind of open up doors for the future generation.
Absolutely. Well, love your work, and I hope you have a lot of success moving forward.
Wow, just incredible. Coming up next, how a content creator is making it her mission to bring awareness to the curly hair community. Stay with us.
Welcome back. We are not all the same, and one of the beautiful things about being Hispanic is in our diversity.
WGNO's Christopher Leach met a content creator with a sizable international following to talk about good and bad hair.
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rocio and this is Reese's Rizzos. This is Reese's Rizzos. Welcome.
Hello, and this is Reese's Rizzos. If it's your first time visiting this channel, then don't forget to subscribe.
Hailing originally from New Orleans, for 8 years, Rocio has made YouTube and social media content.
My family understands that this is not just a hobby, it's my career now. Latino creators, Latino bloggers, Latino YouTubers, Latino podcasters. Brands are looking for Latinos because they know that there is an audience out there. ¿Qué tal, amigas? Yo soy Rocío y este es Risas Rizos en español, y en este video vamos a hablar sobre los tipos de cabello rizado.
She began sharing her life and personality because of a lack of representation in the curly and kinky hair community.
There weren't enough Latinas that were creating content around naturally curly hair. For Latinos, there is a phrase called pelo malo, which is translated to bad hair. A lot of, women who are of Hispanic descent are sort of just taught to straighten their hair, that was sort of deemed to be the beauty standard. People see us as Latinos as a whole and just, generalize us as, oh, we're all one thing, and not really knowing that there are so many different countries, and not only that, but there are also so many different, parts of history that make us who we are.
The term Afro-Latino is a newer description that more people like Rocio are choosing to identify with. According to the U.S. Census, approximately 25% of Latinos in the U.S. identify as Afro-Latino, Afro-Caribbean, or Latino with African descent.
I thought, okay, in order for me to be accepted as beautiful, or for me to even see myself as beautiful, I had to straighten my hair. My grandmother is Black, she's a Black Latina. A lot of Latinos, though, don't always want to identify as being Afro-Latino or as being Black, because there's that taboo or that stigma when the rest of your family have lighter complexions.
Rocio's channel may have started with hair, but it's evolved into her sharing all aspects of her life, from her traveling the country on a tour promoting Afro-Latino awareness and supporting everyone being unapologetically who they are.
Not just love the roots that are on your head, but the roots that, that make us who we are today. In that tour, the topic evolved into something that's bigger than just hair, but just the love of your self-identity.
Hair is like humanity. It's stronger when individual strands come together, and it shines when it's cared for. Christopher Leach, WGNO News.
That is some beautiful hair. Coming up next, a local roadway renamed to reflect its residents. We'll take you to Borinquen Street.
Today, if you drive past Rhode Island Hospital, you'll notice a quiet block known as Borican Street. But 40 years ago, it had another name, and the community rallied to change it. And Adriana, you spoke to the man behind that change.
That's right, Shannon, and you might not think much of them, but street names, they're emblematic for communities. In Providence, the former Bishop Street didn't sound quite right to the Puerto Ricans living on it.
We don't want to call this Bishop Street anymore.
1,600 miles from the island of Puerto Rico, nestled behind Rhode Island Hospital in Providence, is a one-block street bearing the island's indigenous name, Borinquen Street. Originally named Bishop Street, activists tell me most of the families living on that block in the 80s were Puerto Rican. Brothers Jose and Roberto Gonzalez said that caused a unique concern with the street name.
Several families living on Bishop Street that expressed displeasure with having to say that name with their heavy Spanish accent, and that it just sounded too much like a Puerto Rican term that's kind of vulgar.
Activist Osvaldo Castillo, with members of community organization Casa Puerto Rico, asking city councilors to change the name. City council minutes from 1984 chronicle the passage of the resolution, a newspaper clipping from that time, documenting the change. Castillo tells me the community was overjoyed, sparking a festival in honor of the new name. While some thought the symbolic gesture would carry no weight,
something that was given to the community that leaders could then say, hey, look, see what we can accomplish, when we organize.
And every time I go by and I see Borinquen Street, I smile because I know that there is power.
According to the Latino Oral History Project, Borinquen Street is the only street in the state to be officially renamed to the Spanish language.
Well, they should be really proud of making that change. A well-known celebrity with some lesser-known hobbies. We check out Cheech's collection of Chicano art. Welcome back. Well, we're sure that you know Cheech from the comedy duo Cheech and Chong, but did you know he's also an avid art collector? In fact, he even has his own museum.
Megan Tellis of our KTLA station met up with him there, where Cheech invited her to his home to learn more about his upbringing and interests.
Hey guys, so we're here. This is the home of Cheech Marin. He invited me here after I met him at his very own Chicano Art Museum in Riverside. He said, come on down to my house. You can chat with me there and see all the art on the wall. So I took him up on the opportunity. Let's see. Hopefully he's home. Hopefully he didn't forget about our date.
Oh, it's you.
Oh my gosh, you didn't forget about me. Hi, Cheech. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Come on in. We're going to show you around.
The only red house on the block, my friend.
It's private residence.
I was born in East LA, man. I was born in East LA.
Cheech was actually born in South Central Los Angeles. His birth name is Richard Marin, and his nickname, not so traditional.
I'm from East LA.
When babies are brought home, they're like shriveled up. Yeah, they're never cute. They look like a blood blister, kind of like. And my Uncle Bono looked in the crib and said, "Ay, parece un chicharrón." And so that was my name.
I know you call yourself a proud Chicano, and that's something that you make a choice to be identified as. When did you realize that you were a Chicano, and why?
Because I wasn't comfortable being described as a Mexican, because I had never been to Mexico, didn't speak Spanish. I grew up in an all-black neighborhood, and I spoke only English.
Cheech's mom worked in education, his father a member of LAPD for 30 years. Identifying as Chicano became Cheech's way of taking ownership of all he was and was not in this country.
What I've really come to realize is what Chicano stands for is evolution, an evolutionary culinary process to take whatever you brought with you and combine it with whatever is presented to you and combine those two things.
Weaved into Chicano lifestyle is love of family, and growing up, his was tight-knit.
There was 4 of us. It was 4 cousins, and we were all bright kids. We went to Catholic school, a liberal arts education. My cousin Louis was teaching us is that the love of learning, and how when you develop the love of learning, it applies to everything. So he assigned us different topics to learn and bring back to the group, and I got assigned art. I would every Saturday go there and look at okay, that's Cézanne, that's Caravaggio, that's Picasso, and I educated myself that way.
This love of art transcending Cheech's life into a work of art. It started years before Cheech catapulted to icon status in the 1970s as one half of Hollywood's Grammy Award-winning counterculture, no-holds-barred comedy duo Cheech and Chong.
Almost got it in the other pocket, man.
Before meeting Tommy Chong, Cheech was already an artist. He recorded Spanish gritos as a kid, played in rock bands as a teen, threw clay as a professional potter in college. By now, he has mastered the art of collecting.
The collection aspect comes in because I was an inveterate collector my whole life of something. Whether it was stamps or baseball cards or buttons.
What is it about collecting?
I don't know. It's just a part of my DNA.
His latest obsession, Chicano art. It's a good obsession?
It is. It's a very good obsession. It's actually the best obsession of my life. Because it's lasted so long and it's taught me so much.
For 4 decades, Cheech has collected nearly 700 pieces of Chicano art, supporting hundreds of Chicano artists. Cheech Marin, he's over there. Can we say hi? Oh, look at him. Why don't we just come this way? This is your museum. This is your center, okay?
It's named after me, but it's for the people.
It's for the people. Now he is sharing his private collection with the world at the Cheech in Southern California.
The city of Riverside came to me with this offer because they had this building they had to repurpose. For me, the building to house the collection.
When did you fall in love with Chicano art?
When I first saw it, there were all kinds of influences in their art. European, Dutch masters, all kinds of different kinds of art that they were exposed to in college. There was definitely a Chicano element to that. You could taste the Chile in it.
The journey here hasn't been easy.
And there was pushback from the Chicano academic community from my involvement because who is this stoner comedian to tell us what's up about Chicano art? Now, they didn't know what my motivation was. You have to be Chicano stubborn, Chicano persistent, and if my theory is that if you are doing the right thing, good things will happen to you.
His goal is to introduce Chicano art to a wider audience, give Chicano artists a platform to grow. Goes back to when you were a kid in South Central and Cousin Louie.
Yeah.
What would he say now? What would he say about the success?
He would be very proud.
Good life, huh?
Thank you. Yeah, it is. It's very good.
Still to come, we take you to get one of the best cups of coffee in the area that's not only brewing great flavor, but Guatemalan tradition too.
We introduce you now to a local Guatemalan business owner bringing his country's coffee to Rhode Islanders.
And it's not always easy to find Hispanic coffee in the land of Dunkin'. One local Guatemalan business owner took matters into his own hands. He's preserving his heritage, one cafecito at a time.
Well, like I said, I was just walking, I saw it. It was like falling in love with something.
Ivan had never seen a coffee truck from his native Guatemala in Providence before. Ivan is one of Café Modesto's loyal customers. Fellow Guatemalan Edis Monzon has owned Café Modesto for 2 years. It's home by the pedestrian bridge. Café Modesto's coffee coming straight from the land of the eternal spring to the ocean state. It takes about 2 days for Edis to receive the coffee he orders, which comes from 5 different regions in his country. Edis proudly champions his heritage through his business, serving Rhode Islanders what he deems good coffee, with the perfect roast and all its flavors. For his Guatemalan customers, it feels like home.
He make it easy for me to try something that I have to call someone from Guatemala and say, hey, look, can you send me some coffee? But now we have the coffee in here. So probably now, I'm not gonna call anyone.
He says coffee unites us all, regardless of where we're from. Especially if it's good coffee, people are going to notice.
So they can experience something from our country, our culture, and our flavors. And I know if they try it, they're gonna fall in love with the coffee.
He tells me his truck is always on South Main Street unless it snows. Now, whether you're Guatemalan or not, Elise is ready to welcome you with open arms.
I think I'm going to be making a stop on the way to work from now on. And since you did that story, you found out he has quite the following.
Oh yeah, we had to stop the interview several times because he'd get a line around the truck, so we'd have to like pause, he'd go make some coffee and then come back to me.
I have a feeling after this airs, his line is going to be a lot longer.
Oh yeah, no, I think everybody should go try it. I loved it.
Good for him. Well, thanks so much for joining us. You can find more content celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month on our website, WPRI.com. Have a great night.